I mean, Terence Crawford has had an amazing career against a lot of very good fighters and world-class fighters, and honestly has barely lost a round. When you look back at Bud Crawford's career, there is something really special.
Say there's nothing to do, but damn, like, what else do you gotta do? He's a three-time undisputed champion.
Hey man, you looking small. What you mean I'm looking small? You looking small. Like, it's just that, like, you gotta really hurt that dude to turn him away and to try to stop him from doing what he want to do. So skillful, yes. But this and this.
Fighters fear Terence Crawford for many reasons, and even Roy Jones Jr. pointed out that Canelo seemed uneasy just facing him. What makes Crawford so intimidating isn't only his talent, but the calm way he studies every move in the ring. He hardly ever takes a clean shot and punishes mistakes with flawless timing, leaving opponents convinced they have no chance of beating him.
And that stare down that we talked about, when I told you either he's not ready for this or he trying to little boy Bud. He wasn't trying to little boy Bud. He really was afraid. Well, not afraid, but he was worried about Bud. And Bud knew that. And Bud being the older guy, Bud kind of looked him in his eye and made him turn away first. That was a victory for Bud. That was Bud's first victory. Anytime that happens, if something else don't come around or something else don't happen to undo that, you got a problem.
Paulie Malignaggi praised Terence Crawford for building one of the greatest records in boxing, becoming an undisputed champion 3 times by taking on top fighters instead of easy opponents. What stood out most to him was not just the victories, but how Crawford dominated without taking much damage, rarely getting hit clean. With 41 wins, 31 knockouts, and no losses, Paulie called his run historic and said the recent win over Canelo marked more than just another achievement. It felt like the beginning of a new era, much like when Floyd Mayweather once ruled. In his eyes, Crawford has now become the defining fighter of this generation.
It's flawless. I mean, Terence Crawford has had an amazing career against a lot of very good fighters and world-class fighters, and honestly has barely lost a round. When you look back at Bud Crawford's career, there is something really special. It's one of those things now, because now I've now seen back-to-back generations of Floyd Mayweather and Bud Crawford, and man, you know, it's one of those things where now I understand why the people that lived in the Ray Leonard era say, you know, oh, wish we could see Ray Leonard against Mayweather, and how that would be, because it just leaves such an empty feeling when you have such special fighters that were in different generations, and you saw both of them. You know, I saw the entirety of the Mayweather generation, I saw the entirety of the Bud Crawford generation. Just incredible, really, really incredible. And I know Mayweather gets a lot of hate, but for me, he's a tremendous, tremendous fighter. And Terence Bud Crawford is in that realm as well. And it's a fight we'll never get to see. So what are we gonna do? You know, it'll be up to the fantasy fights. You know, but let's get into it, man. I want to get into the undercard as well and some of my thoughts on the Netflix show. But let's get into the main event first. Crawford really boxed very, very well, very, very intelligently. The question mark was what happens when Crawford gets hit cleanly. I'm not sure he got hit cleanly at the whole fight. You know, he got hit with some partial shots. Some shots landed cleanly, but by the time Canelo started landing anything cleanly, I think he was hesitant because he was getting countered so much that he was taking some of the steam off the shots in order to hope to be more accurate. Because even late in the fight, there were a couple of shots that Canelo landed, but
Brian described watching Terence Crawford against Canelo as extraordinary, saying it's rare to see a fighter balance defense and offense so perfectly in today's boxing. Most boxers shine in one area but leave gaps in the other, while Crawford showed both with precision. He shut down Canelo's attacks with sharp defense and smooth movement, then instantly switched to offense to punish openings. Brian said this complete package sets Crawford apart from other champions, as he can neutralize an opponent's weapons while building his own momentum, and it was incredible to see him dominate an elite fighter with such composure and skill.
See, I think that for me, I watch defense as much as I watch offense. So yeah, like I thought, like watching Bud catch those shots off his glove.
He looked amazing.
So amazing.
Yeah, he looked good.
Yeah. He'd go to a body and he'd catch that and come up with an uppercut. You know, just all those things that seem.
He looked great.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody do that to ever.
No one has. Yeah, he's the best.
Canelo.
Ever. Yeah, he's the best.
And I think he would do that to Canelo on his best day. And Canelo said it. He goes, I couldn't figure him out.
No.
Which is why he probably won't fight him again. In a way.
They'll fight again.
You think so?
The payday, yeah. But so you're gonna get
Canelo, because the money's in Canelo Crawford, the rematch. I don't want to see it, but I want Crawford to get paid, so might as well do it.
Andre Ward praised Terence Crawford as the most skillful fighter of his era, noting that once Crawford sets his mind on something, he'll do whatever it takes to achieve it. Ward explained that the only way to beat him is by truly hurting him in the ring, because no tactical trick alone will work. He pointed out Crawford's rare ability to adapt, switch stances, and think clearly under pressure, allowing him to impose his will in any situation. For Ward, Crawford's dominance is no accident. It comes from determination, grit, and an unshakable drive to overcome every challenge.
Somebody that, like, I can bet the house on is Bud.
Who's the most skilled fighter today?
Bud is definitely one of them, for sure. Me and him, we so much alike in our mentality. Like, soon as I see this dude, he come in the room or I come in the room, we start arguing about basketball, wrestling, anything, bro. Like, man, you can't, man, you looking small. What you mean I'm looking small? You looking small. Like, it's just that, like, you gotta really hurt that dude to turn him away and to try to stop him from doing what he want to do. So skillful, yes, but this and this is different.
Crawford's journey has been deeply shaped by family, with his father always predicting he would one day be an undisputed champion, planting that belief in him early on. His mother, on the other hand, was doubtful he'd ever reach the top, but instead of holding him back, her skepticism became his motivation. Every time he fought, Crawford carried the drive to prove her wrong, and with each win and title, he not only fulfilled his father's vision but also earned his mother's pride. Looking back now, he takes satisfaction in knowing his success brought both validation and respect from his family.
My dad used to tell my mom I was going to be a world champ.
I told him we would be.
How'd that make you feel? It filled me with rage. And every time I stepped foot in the ring or anything that I ever did, I just wanted to win so bad so I can prove a point to it.
I paid the kids, I said, if y'all can whoop Bud, I give y'all $10 a piece. Could none whoop.
You went out on the street.
Yeah.
What's now Bud Crawford Street.
Yeah.
And offered $10 to anyone who can kick my son's butt.
Yep.
And a lot of takers.
Yeah, the kids in the neighborhood. Couldn't nobody whoop them.
What did he tell you then?
He told your mom, I told you I'm the best.
Crawford explained that he never aimed to be undisputed at 154 pounds because he didn't see enough real competition there. For him, becoming undisputed isn't just about collecting belts. It's about beating the best fighters available. Instead of staying at 154, he chose to move up to 168, where the challenges and names are bigger and the fights can add more to his legacy. His refusal to move down highlights his confidence and commitment to testing himself at tougher weight classes, making sure his career is defined by risk and ambition, not comfort or easy wins.
Being undisputed at 154 ever crossed your mind at this point that you at in your career?
Not at all, because I'm looking at the landscape of the 154-pound division. There's a lot of great fighters, but there's not a lot of defining fights at 154. There's not a lot of legacy fights at 154. You know, when I'm looking at the landscape of 154, I beat, what's his name?
Majimov? No, 154?
No. The champion that just knocked out Tim Tszyu.
Oh, Bachram.
Yeah. Okay, so Bachram, they're going to say, who is Bachram?
Facts.
He knocked out Tim Tszyu that already had losses.
I would put you down with Fedora, though. They're going
to... Fedora already been knocked out.
Yeah, he did.
So, along my career, I've been criticized and people have taken credit away from me just to try to diminish my accomplishments, just off of pure hate.
Crawford often displays his belts not as simple bragging, but as proof of the years of dedication and sacrifice behind them. To him, each title represents more than a win. It reflects the struggles, challenges, and doubts he had to overcome. By standing with those belts, he reminds fans and critics alike that nothing was given to him. He earned every piece of gold through hard fights and discipline. For Crawford, the belts are symbols of effort and self-belief, and they also serve as inspiration for the next generation of fighters who hope to follow his path.
Just reflecting,
on all my accomplishments at my mama house. That's where all my belts at. You know, hard work, dedication. Things that y'all favorite fighters, some of them, on God. So I see why y'all mad. See why y'all mad. Ooh, look at that one right there. This where it all started at. Right here. This one. In Texas. In Texas, baby. Don't hate. Just congratulate.
Virgil Ortiz Jr., a rising star in his own right, praised Crawford's latest performance as absolutely beautiful, saying he proved everything he needed to in that fight. Ortiz believes Crawford no longer has to chase new opponents to validate his greatness, as his legacy is already secure. Hearing such admiration from a young, ambitious fighter highlights how strongly Crawford's dominance has impacted the new generation, leaving them in awe of what he has already achieved.
Perfect fight, actually. He neutralized all of Canelo's strengths. He knew that he was gonna look for the right hook, because I believe that they've been looking at Crawford being hurt by that right hook before. So he neutralized it. He used his jab really well. He boxed beautifully, and man, I mean, he did everything right. Yeah.
Now, let's talk about Crawford first, because obviously we can get to Canelo later, but in the post-fight, they asked him, a media member asked him if he'd come back down to 154 to fight Boots. Obviously, in the same token, I took it as, all right, Boots or Virgil, right? And he said he's not coming back down to 154. What are your thoughts on him not coming down, and what do you think he will more than likely do next?
I don't know what he's gonna do. I did read something that said he'll go down to 160, you know? And I think that is definitely a possibility, and you know, that fight can still happen at 160. And as far as what he's gonna do now, I mean, I don't know. He kind of beat the final boss of the game. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's kind of nothing. I don't want to say there's nothing to do, but damn, like, I mean, what else do you got to do? he's a 3-time undisputed champion. He made some good money. At this point, he's just a free player right now, I guess. He can do whatever.
Crawford's dominance has created what many call the Crawford effect, with fighters from other divisions eager to challenge him. Sebastian Fundora, known for his height and aggressive style, has already voiced interest in facing him. This shift shows how once a fighter reaches Crawford's level, others line up to test themselves against him to gain credibility. Instead of Crawford chasing opponents, they are now chasing him, a clear sign of the power and influence he holds in today's boxing world.
Effect is in full effect, okay? It's in full effect. Terence Crawford now is a wanted man. Prior to that, everybody said Terence Crawford is not a draw. Terence Crawford can't sell. Terence Crawford is not a big money fight. Now, we have an interesting situation brewing. The former unified WBA, well, WBO, WBC, junior middleweight world champion, Mexican superstar or star boxer, the Towering Inferno, Sebastian Fundora, refused to fight Terence Bud Crawford, who is now, no doubt, first ballot Hall of Famer, no doubt, the pound for pound king, 5-division world champion, 3-division undisputed world champion, with a record of 42 wins, no loss, no draw, 31 wins by way of knockout. When Terence Crawford dominated and stopped The Truth, Errol Spence Jr., in July of 2023, Terence Crawford petitioned to move up and fight the Towering Inferno, Sebastian Fundora, okay? And Sebastian Fundora has zero interest.
O'Shaquie Foster admitted he was surprised by how Crawford shut down years of criticism, as many doubters claimed he hadn't faced enough elite opponents. But with his recent wins, especially against Canelo, Crawford proved he could dominate even the biggest names. Foster said Crawford not only erased those doubts, but also set a new standard by proving himself on the biggest stage. To him, Crawford's career shows how persistence can turn skepticism into undeniable respect.
I mean, shit. They definitely doubted, bro. And he told me months ago that he was gonna do that. And he went and did that. That shit, you know what I mean? And they doubted him a lot throughout his career, you know what I mean? Just a lot. And just a lot of people that I look at that's great fighters, they've been doubted. You know what I mean? Same thing with Floyd. They had the Oscar De La Hoyas, the Shane Mosleys, the Trinidad, they all was putting them above Floyd and all this woo-de-woo. You know what I mean? And so I just feel like getting doubted is a great thing. It gives me, you know what I mean, that push. So, yeah.
You think it would look that, I ain't gonna call it easy, but I felt like people didn't think that Crawford could do it that clean. Did that surprise you?
No. It did surprise me that he stayed more disciplined. Like, I thought what was gonna happen was he was gonna do what he was doing, and then, you know, Terence got hard. He trying to bang it out, especially if he feel played enough. He feel like you feel like you doing something, he gonna come with it stuff. So I thought that was gonna be a problem. Like if Canelo landed a punch, he would try to go in the trenches with Canelo. And that's what I would have been scared for him for. But man, that boy stayed sharp all night, man. That boy looked good, man. I can't lie. He looked good. Sure. I was definitely surprised at how smooth, how easy he beat him.
Blair Cobbs called Crawford's win over Canelo a defining moment, while Conor Benn suggested Crawford could even retire now, ending his career on a perfect high. Benn's point wasn't criticism, but admiration, noting that Crawford has nothing left to prove and would still be remembered as one of the all-time greats if he walked away today. Their reactions show the shared belief that Crawford's legacy is already secured, no matter what comes next.
To sail out on that beautiful sunset and retire. He's done a lot for the sport, and there's really not too much else that he can possibly do in the sport of boxing outside of make a beautiful retirement and leave a legacy of fighters that aspire to be just as great as Terence Crawford, like myself.
Has Canelo's legacy been damaged after that or not?
Not really. I think that Canelo is still a terrific and a fantastic athlete that's spent a little bit too much time at the table of boxing, and right now is his time to make his exit.
Not everyone buys into the idea that Crawford is untouchable. Some analysts argue that while his win over Canelo was historic, it doesn't mean he can't be beaten. They note that boxing is full of talented fighters who could challenge him under the right conditions. To them, Crawford's triumph was monumental but not absolute, as the sport's unpredictability ensures even the best can be tested. This view reminds us that while Crawford has reached remarkable heights, fresh threats will always keep the debate over his place in history alive.
Another division, that's not the move. If he goes back down there, he's the best guy in that division. I think it's safe to say that. But I do think that a lot of those guys will give me very interesting and potentially difficult style matchups for him. They'll be more difficult than a Canelo fight. And I know that sounds crazy to say, but just go and look at the fight with Madrimov if you don't believe me. Long story short, beating Canelo Alvarez doesn't mean that Crawford is unstoppable or unbeatable. Yes, he's one of the best fighters of this division, one of the best fighters ever with his achievements, but it doesn't mean he won't lose before the end if he fights the wrong guy. At the very least, it doesn't mean he won't have a harder fight than that Canelo fight. And to finish this video, do I think that he's better than Floyd Mayweather? Do I think now that he would beat Floyd Mayweather if they were to compete at 147? Well, I think Crawford at 147 is the best Terence Crawford in terms of his attributes, his style, and the strength and power he has at the weight. I think he's probably unbeatable at 147 in this era. It's because he's going up the weight style we're even having this conversation, to be honest with you. But I do think he's an all-time great. I do think he's in the conversation, which is the best you can do, because we can't definitively say who beats who in a fantasy match. That's why I really don't like them. I've been asked a few of them recently, and I just, without studying and then without actually getting the chance to see it, I just don't really like going there. But we'll do it at the end of this video anyway. it's definitely a conversation to have whether or not he's better than Floyd Mayweather, because he's done it without these rehydration clauses. He hasn't really cherry-picked, although I would say, to be fair, look at Crawford's record. He has fought a lot of guys where it's been the very end of their career at welter. You know, Sean Porter, Amir Khan, Kell Brook, they're all great names, but none of them were in their prime anymore. But Crawford did it so emphatically, and the way he beat Errol Spence as well. Again, he'd had his issues, but again, the way he did it so emphatically, the way he passes the eye test every single time, you have to assume that he's going to do it no matter who he's facing. I do think a fight between him and Mayweather would have been very, very difficult to call.
That's all for today's video. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more next time.